This is the crazy story of how I met the President of the United States. And then I met him again. And then I met him once again. This is also the story of how I met the First Lady of the United States. Oh, and how I met the Vice President of the United States, who is now the President. I also met the other president between Obama and Biden, but that story is a lot shorter. See, I was a seat filler at the Celebrity Apprentice that was hosted by Donald Trump. And when he first walked out, I was standing right there, so I reached out and shook his hand. But my story about these photos is much, much more insane. You might be thinking, okay, I'm dressed in a suit, looks like a fancy hotel. You must have just donated money to their campaigns and then gotten invited to the events. But no, actually that would cost you around $50,000 to attend an event with the US president. And then of course you would get to take a photo and shake their hand. Okay, so maybe I was a volunteer at a campaign.
What? What are you talking about, man?
Well, sort of, but not really. Here's the story. I had just moved to New York after college, and a former classmate of mine had sent me a message on GChat. Yes, GChat was the Google Mail version of a real-time conversation at the time. In this chat, my friend, who I won't reveal his name, asked my plans later in the week, and then proceeded to tell me that he sort of works for the White House. He told me someone important is coming from DC to New York, and they need some volunteers. So here's the deal. Since the 1980s, when a US president, vice president, or even first lady travels to a city like New York, they have an entourage, a motorcade. I mean, the US president's motorcade has between 40 to 50 vehicles. They take an enormous amount of cars, police, and resources to secure every intersection, on-ramp, off-ramp, you name it. And to staff part of these motorcades, they rely on volunteers. Yes, for over 30 years, some of the drivers in the motorcade are just volunteers. Everyday people, you and I, like literally me. I was a driver in the president's motorcade. So when I got that message on GChat that day, I was shocked, confused, and of course, excited. Was this actually for real? And my former classmate told me that when you volunteer as part of the motorcade, you are rewarded by getting to meet the president. Here's how it works. If you drive in the US president's motorcade, you will get a group picture with the president. If you volunteer for the vice president's motorcade or the first lady's motorcade, you will get a one-on-one photo with them. And that explains all of these photos. These photos are basically a thanks for your time. So here's what happened next. I sent my ID and they did a background check. And the next thing you know, I was good to go. I was good to be a driver, going at 70 or 80 miles per hour through Manhattan with perhaps the world's most powerful person. The morning before it happened, we all met up at the Hilton Hotel in Midtown New York. We got pins to wear on our suits that made us look legit, and I'm sure it served some sort of security purpose as well. We all rode in one car together to a car rental center in LaGuardia Airport. And I mean like a Hertz or an Avis, I don't remember, but it was just a normal car rental center. Then we each got our very own black Suburban, and we got a checklist of things to look for, such as brake lights, windshield wipers, things like that. After that, we all drove as an entourage to southern Manhattan to pick up the president from the helicopter. And the entire day, we drove President Obama around New York to meetings, to events. I mean, it was insane.
Thanks, Obama.
So the passengers in my car were not like Secret Service holding a sniper. It was people like TV journalists or print journalists or some of the staffers of the White House, or even like the makeup artists. Once it was nighttime, we drove President Obama to the Waldorf Astoria, and that's where we got to meet him, shake his hand, and take a picture with him. And in every city he would go to, he would always make the same joke with the volunteers. These must be the best drivers in all of New York City. And he would say it every time. I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the most insane, exciting days of my life, or days of my life. Because after that, I told my friend, please call me when this happens again. And he would call me when the First Lady was in town, when Vice President Biden was in town, and any chance I could get to take off of work and go and drive in the motorcade, I would say yes. When I met Biden, he was so talkative. He was talking to me about where I was from, and it got to the point where his staff was trying to lure him away because he was such a chatty guy. And it made me feel really honored and humbled that he was taking interest. I mean, he wasn't just there to take the photo.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me. I was going to
I had some of the best days of my life being a volunteer in the US President's motorcade. Now remember, this was all before TikTok or Instagram stories, so a lot of this stuff never got out, and they even told us to not really talk about it. I mean, they didn't ask us to sign an NDA or anything like that, but it was just kind of told to us not to really talk about what we were doing here. But let me just tell you, of course I could share the photos online, and whenever I would share the photo online of me with President Obama or Michelle Obama, people would be so confused and intrigued, and I would get so many comments and questions about what am I doing? How is this happening? My grandparents loved it and would always have a photo in their wallet ready to show the grocery store cashier. And it was so exciting, I even got a few of my friends to be volunteers. They were able to meet President Obama because I referred them into this like volunteer secret driver program thing. But then in 2014, this whole thing got exposed.
The New York Times says the Secret Service is defending the practice of hiring young volunteers to drive in the president's motorcade.
Secret Service faces new accusations that it is ignoring potential security risks. A study this month called for major changes after a string of incidents, including a fence jumper who got inside the White House. The agency's newest headache centers on the use of untrained drivers.
One article even saying the motorcade vans used to transport staffers and reporters are often driven by young volunteers who lack any specialized training. Yes, I was one of those young volunteers who lack any specialized training. The New York Times did a report exposing the entire program and even was critical of a 24-year-old driver with bright orange fluorescent sunglasses. I mean, this story in the Times exposed the whole program. Even the joke that President Obama would make in every city saying, "You must be the best drivers in town." The article stated that us volunteer drivers are cheaper than Secret Service. And the White House declined to comment on this New York Times report, but the Secret Service defended the practice and saying, yeah, we've been doing this since the 1980s. The truth is, as a volunteer, I was briefed a little bit, but it was mostly just follow the car in front of you. And I definitely didn't have any specialized training, and some of the other volunteer drivers were actually kind of concerning based on the questions they were asking or based on the way they were driving. But apparently all we needed to do this was a driver's license, a clean criminal record, and of course, a friend at the White House. But some security experts say that this whole thing is troubling. Dan Emmett, a former Secret Service agent, said, and I quote, "You are face to face with a young person who is just completely full of themselves and enthralled." He was recalling the years that he was part of the Secret Service's counter-assault team. And then he added, "We were more concerned with that than an attack on the motorcade." Now, fast forward to 2023, still some of the best days of my life. Since that expose in 2014, a lot of media outlets picked up on it. CBS News did a whole thing. I personally couldn't figure out if this program still exists or not, but all I can say is how fortunate I am to have had this crazy life experience.